Hi, everybody. My name is Lori Baños, and I am a moderator for this session, the parent panel, and I'm also a panelist. I'm here from Iowa, and my daughter, Sina, is my RB survivor. And I'm also a vice president of We See Hope. And my day job is as a teacher for the visually impaired and an orientation mobility specialist. If any of you are cane travelers, today is White Cane Day. Marissa. And I was going to say, I talk with my hands, so I knew I was going to hit this too. So we are, okay. Last but not least, I also moderate the RB Moms Facebook group. I'm super grateful for this opportunity, and I'm really excited about the panelists we have, so I hope everybody finds it helpful. I'm going to introduce everybody, and then I'll probably just go sit over there with them. So first, we have Victoria Danhakl. Do you want to? Yep. Victoria is an anesthesiologist in Santa Monica, California, and she is mom to 3-year-old Izzy. Izzy is an RB survivor, and she has a perspective as a parent, but also as a physician. Next, we have Leng. Thank you, May. She traveled all the way across the Pacific Ocean to be with us here today in Hawaii. She lives in Beijing with her husband and her 7-year-old survivor, Eason. And their unique experience that I hope she's going to be able to talk about is they had to navigate RB a little bit internationally, but also during the pandemic. So it's a definitely unique story. Summer Stanley is here with her 7-year-old bilateral survivor journey and came all the way from North Carolina. Summer is the executive officer of MyASL TeacherROCKs, LLC, as well as ParentsROCK Readiness project. And Journey has a little bit of an international survivor story, as her family was stationed in Germany when she was diagnosed. And one other fun thing about Journey is that she likes to show off her fun eyes. She has a lot of fun eyes. Tim, right here, Tim Valverde is dad to Hunts, and he also has 2 daughters, Emma and Maddie. He's a pastor in San Diego, and he's here with his wife, Sonia, and his 3 children, and your parents, right, Tim? Yeah. Great. Okay. Let me bring this. Okay. Okay, so we just wanted to start by sharing pictures of our survivors with you. On the far right that's me and my daughter Sina on her wedding day. And if you'll notice, I've got an older survivor. She's 23, so for those of you with vision impairment, she's wearing a white wedding dress. She's holding a bouquet of fresh flowers, and I'm standing next to her, and we're both smiling. And I'm going to briefly share her story, and then I'll let these guys go on with theirs about their kiddos. I'm saying them a lot. She was diagnosed with bilateral at 4 months old. She had a well-child checkup, and they finally found it. I knew something was wrong the minute she was born, so they finally were like, I think I see a little glow. I did not see the glow until she was about 5.5 months. So she started out with systemic chemo, cryo, a little laser therapy. That went on for about 6 months. Then her right eye was enucleated. It was not responding. And her left eye was all the tumors were dead. So we were excited that we were going to be done, right? And then a few months later, she had 18 new tumors in her left eye. So she had proton beam radiation, which I would be interested if anybody in this, the doctors in the room anyway, it was kind of a short-lived treatment, it seems like, because she was the first one at our hospital to have it, but then I never really heard about too many other people that had it. But nonetheless, it killed all the tumors after a month, and it did cause a pretty severe cataract, so she had cataract surgery when she was 5. A few side effects from treatment: she has pretty severe neuropathy in her legs. She has kind of brittle, small bones in her feet. She's broken her feet, her metatarsals, I believe, multiple times. She used to be a runner. She liked to run, and she can't do that anymore. I guess last but not least, she got married in June of 2023, and she graduated in May of 2023 with a bachelor's degree in Japanese. She's running around here too. You'll probably see her, but I was really appreciative of the panel, that the survivorship panel that talked about kind of not wanting to talk about it, or she was in that mindset for a long time. And even now, when I asked her to come listen, I said, they're saying all the same things you say. And she's like, I know, but I live that every day, Mom. I don't need to talk about it or listen to other people talking about it, because that's my story too. So, I mean, that's part of the reason I wanted to have this panel, because I felt like I shared her story instead of sharing my own, right? And so I felt like, and even I'm gonna say this with these guys who have the younger kids, I had them share their stories at the end, and I felt like it was really hard for them to share their own story, like their own feelings. And I don't know if you guys felt that, but because it's all about, I mean, it is about our kids. Like, we're kind of in that fighting for their life, right? But we have our own stories that we deal with this, and so that's what I wanted to give these guys an opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and who wants to go next? Who's next to me? Eason, let's go with me. You want to go ahead and introduce Eason? He's down with the little teddy bear on his head. Yeah. And little suit coat.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, thank you. Hi, my name is May. English is not my native language, but I do hope that my part goes on smoothly. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So my son Eason, he is now 7 years old, and he was diagnosed with unilateral blastoma at 7 weeks old in 2017, and we were in Los Angeles at the time, and it was a night that my husband and I took him to a Korean restaurant, and under these directional light, his father noticed a glow in his left eye, and we sent him to the emergency that night, and after 2 hours waiting, the doctor told us it's something called leukocorin, that I have no idea about it, and he said you have to directly go to an eye doctor immediately. And then we saw an eye doctor the next day, and he said he's pretty sure it's a child eye cancer. So we were admitted to Children's Hospital Los Angeles the very next day. And in about 20 minutes, Dr. Kim confirmed his unilateral blastoma, and it's stage 4. Already 60% of the eye is full of tumor, so the best way is for eye removal. In about 2 days, he had his eye removal. But luckily, with the pathology report and the gene report, he's free of cancer. All things we have to do is go back to Los Angeles every 1 year for a follow-up check. We now have Dr. Barry, and we go to Dr. Haddad for the prosthetic eye. He's now very happy and healthy, and he's doing all kinds of sports, and he's very optimistic. He said, like, one day with a new technology, I'm sure I can see things with my left eye again. And it's really my pleasure to see all of you guys here, hear your story, be encouraged. Thank you so much.
Okay, so above Eason is Izzy. Let's go with Victoria.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria Danhakl from Los Angeles. I have 3 kids, and Izzy is my youngest. She's 3 now. She was diagnosed when she was 4 months old. We were on a family ski trip in Tahoe. Also, on Christmas Eve, I was taking photos, and I noticed just in one picture the leukocoria. And even now, if I look at pictures from before that, thousands of them, since we have iPhones now, not one of them showed the leukocoria, just that one picture did. And then just in that moment when I saw it, I remember, this flash memory of me in medical school learning this professor saying, "This is a pediatric eye emergency." I didn't even remember learning it. It's not my specialty. I haven't, it's so rare that most doctors don't see it in their careers. But that moment, thankfully reminded me of it. And I emailed our pediatrician. She said, "Oh, it's probably a weird glare from the iPhone. We'll see her next week anyways for her 4-month visit." And then during that visit, when she did the red reflex exam, it was abnormal, so we went to a pediatric ophthalmologist 30 minutes later. I kind of knew what the diagnosis was going to be. She confirmed it, and then 2 days later, we were at CHLA with Dr. Barry and Dr. Shaw for treatment, and we started systemic chemo. She went through 6 months of systemic chemo in addition to EUAs, cryotherapy, and laser treatment. And she's doing well now. She's 3. She started preschool last month. Loves to sing, dance, ahead of her milestones. So, thank you guys.
Okay, next is Journey. So we're gonna let Summer introduce Journey.
Hello, everyone. It has been such a pleasure meeting everyone, and it is such an honor to sit up here with other parents who have RB thrivers, as our recent question was asked to, hinting at survivorship but thriving. So our story with Journey started in Germany, where she was born. My husband is active duty, approaching 20 years. While stationed there, we had taken a lot of pictures of Journey. Yes, you can clap for him. He couldn't be here today, but yes, he's pretty awesome. So during our time there, same thing, we had taken a lot of pictures of Journey. At 17 months, I just started scrolling one night and noticing that the glow in her eye was growing, and realized that might be concerning. So my husband took her to a doctor's appointment. I always joke and say, the one time I let him take her. He generally only does dental cleanings, and that's it, but I had an important meeting that day, and so I sent him. And within 30 minutes after their appointment started, I had 4 back-to-back calls coming through while I'm in my meeting, and I told my direct supervisor, I need to step out for a moment. And I stepped out, and my husband is 6'4", 230-plus, big guy, and he was sobbing on the phone. And so I just packed up and said, I have to go. And in my commute, our pediatrician got on the line and said, I've only seen this once in my life, and it was in school. But I'm certain your daughter has a rare form of cancer. That was on a Tuesday. That Wednesday, we went to a specialist in Germany that confirmed what our doctor suspected, that she did have retinoblastoma. That Thursday, our doctor told us we needed to make a decision because by this point, they had the classification that her right eye was a D, and they had no clue what was going on in the left eye. So Thursday night, we started Googling everything, talking to friends and family, and I have a cousin who works in research at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And I called her, and she said, you need to come here. We flew out that Saturday. We lived in a hotel for a year and a half in Center City, and Journey underwent life-saving treatment at CHOP and Will's Eye with Dr. Carol Shields. That was a rough time, but Journey survived, and we knew that we had an amazing team of doctors that assured us that the #1 priority was to save Journey's life. If we can save the eye, then we would. So shout out to CHOP and Will's Eye. So Journey is now 7 years old. She had her right eye enucleated in 2021. And that's because we had hemorrhaging behind that eye when we went for our EUA at Will's Eye, and Dr. Carol Shields informed us that, hey, I'm not saying that you have to, but let me tell you what's happening, and you make the best decision that you can make. And that was on my birthday that we had to make that decision, and I agreed with her that let's remove the eye because that was most important. A month later on my husband's birthday, which is why I remember all of this, because they only see children on Wednesdays to do enucleation surgery at Will's Eye. They removed her eye on my husband's birthday. And we did all the research we could to prepare us for this journey, and I think that that has been a huge benefit for our family, our foundation, and allowing me to come speak in settings such as this one to encourage, but also create that advocacy that's necessary for our community, especially as an African-American family. So thank you all again for being here, and I'm gonna pass it on. Who's next?
Okay, Tim is next. That is Hunt on the end here, so we'll let Tim introduce Hunt.
Good evening, everyone. Normally when I share Hunt's story, it's unique because of the cancer and the enucleation. And here, it feels good that it's not unique, that he's home among family and he is not different. He's just normal. And I just want to thank you for that. And for everyone who put this together, you have blessed my soul today. I asked Hunt a question on social media. I never used to like social media, but unfortunately, about 50 million people have seen this question that I asked him. And I said, Hunt, why did God give you cancer? I wish I could rephrase that question because I don't think God gave him cancer, but God did allow him to have it. And he said something interesting to me. He said, Dad, he gave it to me, or I have it because I'm a special boy, and he chose me. And in the video, if you see it, I get teary-eyed. Although I look tough, believe me, these women are a lot stronger than I am up here. And I said, what do you mean? He says, he chose me, and I'd rather it be me than my sisters. And that's when I realized that this journey was not in vain. When Hunt was 1 year old, we saw the glow in his eye. I tried to ignore it. I'm sorry if, don't judge me, but I tried to ignore it. I saw it, and I was like, my wife Googled it, and I was like, no, let's let the summer go, and we'll check it out in the fall. And unfortunately, he was diagnosed. We went to Children's Hospital LA. And since I've been hearing people shout out doctors, I personally think Dr. Berry's the best retinoblastoma doctor in the world. But so he was diagnosed with a bilateral, stage 5 in his left, stage 4 in his right eye. And he went through chemotherapy and the whole journey of cryotherapy and everything like that. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I always thought as a parent that the enucleation was the end game. When he was enucleated, that's it, we lost. I was so uneducated, not to anyone's fault but my own. And my son went through what many of you and your children have gone through, many sessions, many exams, many battles. And my wife and I would go from battle to battle, visit to visit. And once we would get decent news, we said, okay, we're good until the next one. And that continued. We believed that Hunt was okay because he was diagnosed at 1, and after 4 or 5 years, things were just okay. The visits were okay, and unfortunately, about a year ago at a standard MRI, our doctor noticed something, perhaps his disease reappearing, and last fall and last winter were just very dark days for us as this disease did come back. Not only did it come back, but it did take his left eye. And Hunt's eye was enucleated in February of this year by the amazing Dr. Berry and her team. And that was a dark day for me. Again, if you're gonna judge me, I'll just be very transparent. I had a very hard time looking at the cavity or the orbital bone behind what should be an eye. And he's here and he knows and he's strong and we talked about it. Even to this day, when I'm gonna change this prosthetic, I have to lower the lights. And I know I'll get past that, but in our journey, that's where we are. He started chemotherapy in March, and he finished at the end of July of this year. He rang the bell. My son is now, I think, thriving. He does karate, he does boxing, he does well in school, and we're learning to live with a prosthetic and him being a cancer survivor. So thank you very much.
One last look at our littles up there. I just want you to look at, they are all smiling and happy. So.
Oh, wow, that's so true.
Okay, so we're kind of focused on this parent perspective, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how it impacts your whole family. And Sina's father and I got divorced shortly after her finishing treatment. I don't think her treatment had anything to do with it per se. I think we were headed that way, but I think it was just kind of like my focus was on her, and this was pre-internet, you guys, so there was no Google. So one question I have is, how many of you Googled retinoblastoma or white eye or something, which I could not do. And so there was just the beginning of these listservs. So I got on the Yahoo listserv. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Lori. And I met some friends that way. And then that's where it all started. So the support I really needed was there. But my question for our panel, I kind of wanted to start with Tim to talk about how you talked to your other kids about the cancer and everything. And then if anybody else wants to jump in, feel free.
Sure. For the first round, our girls were very small, so it was just very little. But now they're older, 10 and 8 years old. They know exactly what's going on. They see mommy and daddy crying. They see the doctor visits. I'm a pastor, and I have a strong faith in Jesus Christ. So I lean on my faith with my children. I tell them that we're not alone, that there is a higher power, and we talk about it. We try not to overshare, but I do share with them. As a matter of fact, when we took off the bandage when he had his enucleation, we looked at him as a family, and I let us all cry, and we didn't cry. I thought we were going to be, it was going to be a sad ceremony, and we kind of smiled, and my girls went around and said, Hunty, they call him Hunty, you're going to be okay. So that's what we're doing. I don't know if there's some type of process. What we're doing is we're taking it a day at a time. We're taking a problem at a time and a mountain at a time. And we're being honest with them as us two are learning how to unpack this. That's how we've approached this.
Do you guys want to add anybody?
I like the transparency aspect. That's one of the tools we utilize in our family. Nothing is sugar-coated. We make sure my son, who's 11 now, when Journey was diagnosed, he was about 5. But even at that time, we were extremely honest with him, what we were experiencing with his sister, and we were honest with her as well. I feel like it doesn't matter the age of your child. If they are able to communicate, whether 2, 3, 4, I'm going to explain it to them in a way that they understand, whether that means I'm using dolls or that means I'm breaking it down and putting in language that is, readily available for them. But we explained everything to them. And one of the things that I love that's unique about my family, and I say unique because I meet other families and they don't always agree, but we don't use terms like the bad eye. We don't call her normal when those words don't exist in our family. We don't say disability, it's an ability. Any words that have a negative connotation to it aren't allowed. And this is something I preach in her IEP meetings with her teachers, the nursing staff at her school, so when they encounter her, and that's the same thing we do with my son. So he knows, okay, Journey's right eye is the eye that she wears a prosthetic in versus her left eye. And so having those open conversations with him allows him to be an advocate for her when they're on the playground together or they're doing something. He's able to step in. When a child asks her a question, and kids are not very dainty, they ask very blunt questions. In those settings, she may shy away and not want to respond, although she may not want to. And her brother is able to say, she had bilateral retinoblastoma and we had to remove her eye to save her life. Good. And he will advocate for her in that way. And I wish he was here because you would love him, Jordan. But she advocates for herself in that way when someone, and I think us all having that experience, that transparency as a family, we understand our story. We understand how to advocate for her when she doesn't want to speak up for herself. And that's important for her foundation. So that's a little bit how we kind of approach that situation with our one other child. Yeah.
So Sina started treatment on her brother's 2nd birthday. And so I think we were the same. We just pretty much said it like it is, that her eyes are sick and, she's having to go through this treatment. He spent a lot of time with my parents. But I don't know about the grandparents in the room. I mean, that's not a rough life, getting stuck with the grandparents for a lot of time, right? A little spoiling going on. So, but yeah, it was, we've always been, and kids did try to bully Sina, but I think between the two of them, Noah is on the autism spectrum, so I think they stuck up for each other and did pretty well. Did anybody else want to say anything?
I have 2 older kids. They're 10 and 7 now, but when Izzy was diagnosed, they were preschool and 1st grade. We were also, honest, direct, but simple in our statements to her. One of the first things I did, the second day after diagnosis was hire this art therapist to come every week, and she still comes weekly 3 years later. They look forward to it every week. She does art with them. They talk about their feelings, and then she tells me how they're feeling, each as a report. They've come to love this, to talk. That's how they release their feelings. Siblings go through a lot as well, along with their RB siblings. So I want to acknowledge all the siblings here. I promised my 2 older ones that I would. Sometimes they would wake up and mom and dad aren't, they would wake up to a stranger in the house, a friend or a neighbor watching them in the morning because we had to go to the emergency room with our youngest at night. Or they're the last ones masking during COVID in class because their baby sister was going through chemo. So they go through a lot too.
So I would say, like in Asian culture, especially in China, there is often social discrimination against people with this kind of issues, and especially it is still very severe in China. So my husband and I were thinking about should we tell him, and I think if I cannot hide this for a lifetime, then I have to tell him in the very beginning. So when Ethan was 3 years old, I started telling him that you had some issues with your eye previously, you had a surgery, you got your left eye removed, but it's all fine now, you're a healthy boy. So through this constant conversation, he's well aware of his eye problem. And I also got a lot of support from the family program from CHLA, where I got a lot of information, this kind of information, how you should talk to your kids, how should you teach him to react to others' languages. It's not that often in China we can learn from this, so I really appreciate. And I also hope that I can bring some of this information back to the parents in China, so they know that this kind of psychological support is the same as important as the medical support. Yeah.
Okay, does anyone we're going to do a Q&A kind of in the middle, so if you have questions about what we just talked about, then we'll move on to something else. So does anyone want to ask any questions right now? Or is there anything in the chat? Okay.
She has a question.
Yeah, come on up. It's all good.
Thank you. Firstly, my child experiences what I have also done in my PhD. It's called second-generation discrimination. That's where basically she's bullied because of my face. Yeah? And so so I'm thanking you all for being I'm nearly crying because I'm with family for the first time who actually get it. And thank you very much, retinoblastoma, because this is what is needed. It's the holistic approach for y'all, your medical as well as everyone else. So therefore, we don't actually have to say, excuse me, we have to have our big boots on and our brassieres and our guards and our fighting instruments, and we've got our bows and our quivers and everything else, and we're ready for you guys. And yeah, I just want to thank you and say that's, it's different, but it's exactly the same. So second-gen discrimination as opposed to lived experience. You are my mums and dads, yeah? But my mum and dad didn't have all this, and this is why I did my doctorate and do this stuff. So thank you.
I just wanted to make a quick comment, and of course I'm biased because I have 3 of my own on this panel, but and they're great. The doctor-parent relationship, I think, for all rare diseases, but specifically RB, is also so important. So Summer, I don't know you and I don't know Journey, but you mentioned that she had blood in her eye, and Dr. Shields said, I can't be sure, but I think we should remove the eye. That takes an abundance of trust, which you know very well, because we had the same issue with Hunt, right? He had blood in his eye, and I had to say, I'm worried, but I'm not entirely sure. Doctors aren't very good at being in a space where they're not entirely sure, and having that kind of dialogue and trust with parents is so, so important. So thank you for that, for trusting me and your care providers.
Hello. I don't necessarily have a question, but I really wanted to chime in and comment on the sibling aspect. So as you know from earlier, I fought retinoblastoma twice growing up, and it does affect siblings in a different way. And today I have my older brother Logan with me, and I come from a military family as well, and I'm the third out of 5, and I can tell you that it's just as traumatizing, just as hard for the siblings, but my siblings are my greatest and strongest support system. They are the ones that we shut the door and we're sitting next to each other and we're going through those. So being authentic and being able to share in that, because they know what goes on at home. You know, your peers at school don't see you taking medicine and getting anxiety before tests and all that, but your siblings do. And my brother's my biggest supporter in not only the foundation world, but then also in my personal journey. And that's a testament to my parents laying that ground foundation for us to be authentic and to have one another. So I applaud all of you guys for how you are handling it at home, and from my family that it has also worked from us. And as the patient, that is the most powerful thing I have is my brother and sisters. So thank you.
Hey, that's great.
Thank you so much for sharing. My question is, what advice or guidance would you give to newly diagnosed or in the process of treatment families who are discussing their relationship with their spouse or their co-parent? How did you get through it together or not get through it together? And what guidance would you give families that are looking for that?
Therapy. From the day Journey was diagnosed and we arrived stateside, I was not only contacting everybody at CHOP and doing all the things there, but I was also reaching out to our insurance to find out who was our therapy providers, because I knew just from other friends and families that when your child is diagnosed with a life-threatening disease that does cause some friction within your marriage, there are things that my son is going to experience that I may not have the emotional, what is the word I'm looking for? I may not have that stability to give him in that moment. And so within not even 30 days, everyone had a therapist. We had our marriage therapist who met with us weekly or was on call when we had things that popped up. We had a therapist for Jordan outside of child life because that was amazing for him. But I would say 110% get a therapist. If you can't to get one through your insurance, contact social services, contact the mental health organizations that provide free therapy. But you need someone else, not necessarily in the medical realm, but you need someone who can provide that social and emotional support for you, your family, and your marriage. Me and my husband, I always say that we have a teammate. Like, that's our relationship. My joking comment for him is if you're a Marvel or a DC fan, he's my Alfred. I'm Batman. While I'm out here fighting the world with that cape on and that suit covered up, he gets to see the real me. He gets to see the person that comes in with all the bumps and bruises and everything. So when I come home, we have to know how to support each other, and we couldn't have done that during that situation without therapy. And so that was my biggest recommendation to anybody who has that question. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna move on because we're short on time. So the next topic, we kind of touched on this already, was just the international piece, but what we kind of talked about as a group up here is the lack of consistency among different providers who treat RB. And so now with social media, which is our next topic, so maybe we can kind of mix those together, is one provider might recommend something like enucleation or a certain treatment while another provider might recommend something else. And so the stressor for parents is we have to make this medical decision. And so some people might seek a second opinion, and then they have two separate opinions and they don't know what to do. And then they go to Google, and then they might go to Facebook. And it's just a lot for parents, I'm going to say. So I'm going to let you guys talk about, but a few of the things that we wanted to talk about were the, like, making your medical decisions to coming to the U.S., which you had to do and you had to do, as well as any type of experiences in the Army that you had, Summer, that might have impacted the treatment, or how great they were. I know you kind of mentioned that. So those are the two things I wanted you and May to talk about.
So yeah, we were in Germany at that time, and our provider, our military provider, Lieutenant Colonel Moore, was amazing in making sure we had our, all the options on the table. So my situation was a little different, I think, to most people, even the ones on the panel when we discussed it in our meeting. I had full trust in my medical team from start to finish, but I think that had a lot to do with who I was. As you can see, I'm not a very shy person, so I don't show up regardless of the situation. I show up, I'm going to let you know who I am and what I need from you to best support me as my medical provider. Being an African-American woman, going into this type of situation, and none of the doctors looked like me or my child, presented challenges that other people may not face. So when I met with Dr. Leahy for the very first time, I explained to her, this is where I'm at, these are my concerns, and this is how I need you to give me information. Sorry. And one of those things was I'm a very direct person. I don't need things to be dressed up. Tell me, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. And being able to advocate for myself as the patient and tell my doctors and Journey's doctors how I need to be treated, it just made everything so easy for us. And that's why my trust with Dr. Shields, when she came and said, hey, there's hemorrhaging, we have no way to tell if the cancer is there or not. These are my recommendations. I immediately called Dr. Leahy, in tears, of course, like, Dr. Leahy, this is what they said. And she was like, okay, Summer, so we're removing the eye? And I'm like, yeah, that's what we're doing. In the middle of crying, I didn't have time to really sit in that. And that's why that trust was so important. You have to make decisions like this with your child. I don't have time to be uncertain if I can trust this person or if they have the best interest of my child. So meeting with them from the very beginning and letting them see who I was as a parent, that allowed us to have that trust throughout the 2.5, almost 3-year relationship that we had with Dr. Shields and Dr. Leahy. So for me, that's how things worked, and it was very beneficial. So I don't know what everyone else's takeaway was on that. So there you go.
So we decided to move back to Beijing when Ethan was six months old, and basically we travel back to Los Angeles every once a year and for the follow-up check. And the challenging was really pandemic, that we have no way to come back, and for 3 years because of the very strict limitation of the travel policy in China. And so I tried my best to find another doctor in China who can see him. We went to Children's Hospital in Beijing, we went to Shanghai, but the choices there is difference between the medical protocols of the two countries. That I still remember I sent emails to Dr. Barry and asking some questions and how should I do. I sent an email to Dr. Haddad and say how can I get another prosthetic or what was the time, and it was really challenging, but we were able to find a hospital in Shanghai who can do the similar test exam, and that helped me in that 3 years. And finally, we got resumed going back to LA to see Dr. Barry. So it's all challenging, but it's all good experience, and as long as it's good for the child.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. I'm gonna move on to the next one. Okay, social media, the big topic. I want to start a little bit about I want to just tell you quickly a little bit about me. I live in Iowa with my husband and 2 of my stepchildren and 5 cats. And actually, when I wrote this PowerPoint, I had 3 cats. So, my son Noah, who is Sina's brother, is getting married on Saturday. So I've got a busy week ahead. So pray for me that I get home on time. And as I mentioned, social media was like a big thing for me because when it came around, I finally was like, oh my gosh, I finally can meet people. Like Tim said, like these are people that understand, finally, somebody. So that's why I started RB Moms in 2010, and I was divorced, and I know a lot of people come to me and say, what about the RB dads? So somebody please start RB dads. Because you're great, but I wanted like the mom, like being the mom perspective. And that's another thing. The siblings have their perspective, the dads have theirs, but so do the moms. Like everybody, grandparents, everybody has their own sort of way of coping and dealing with this and the impact. So I wanted to kind of start with, first of all, with Victoria, because on Facebook, for example, you might get some advice that seems like medical advice, and these are not qualified people to give medical advice. So I kind of wanted to talk about how you, as a physician, came about this, which you mentioned already a little bit. And then after that, I want to move to Summer, because Summer avoided social media, which I'm super impressed with. And so I want to kind of contrast those. So go ahead.
I found RB Moms, I think a little later in Izzy's diagnosis, not later, but we're still early in the treatment, but maybe 2 or 3 months after Izzy was diagnosed, because initially I was lucky to have Megan and Cindy there call me every week, and I had that support. So then I found through social media RB Moms a few months later, but I would find, I'm a physician myself, but I would find other just non-healthcare people say things that are giving medical advice that I wouldn't even give as a physician. And so it felt like that was, dangerous for a lot of people, but also hurts a lot of feelings. Mm-hmm. So I kind of I avoided it for a little bit, and I would chime in, just not being biased or anything, just saying like, hey, maybe check with the specialist, because this is a rare disease. There are specialists in this, and experts that you should talk to instead of on the group.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what any of you that are in the group know that I get a little heated sometimes in conversation because I have a big, strong opinion about life being the priority. But, and I am a teacher for the blind, so I don't see blindness as any type of distance at all. But I do feel like there are times where we have to check ourselves and say like, also trust your team. Like that's so important if you don't trust your team. That's the other thing I wanted to say. So my daughter's oncologist, about halfway through her treatment, wanted to stop treatment. And she was in the hospital, she wouldn't eat, she was having fevers, and there was another oncologist on call, and so he kind of talked to me a little bit about, what we could do, and then the other oncologist was like, I don't want to do that. And so where she was treated in Iowa, there's a retina specialist and an oncologist that are working together. And so I asked to change oncologists midway through, which I'm super grateful I did. I want to, like our relationship with that second, his name was Dr. Tnous, was amazing. He had been educated in France, so he had a pretty heavy French accent, but he was so supportive of me, like recognizing my issue versus just Sina's issues and like she wouldn't eat, and they were wanting to put a feeding tube in, and he was like, she's not going to starve herself. You just wait this out. She's RB kids are smart. She is not going to not eat. Like when she gets hungry, she'll eat. So this was around December, Christmas Eve, she ate, finally. So, but yeah, that change I felt was really important because he also agreed to continue treatment when they wanted to stop because she was having a little bit of hearing loss and a little bit of side effects. And so I do think it's super important to trust your team, and if you don't, or if you have opinions or questions, they should be open to having that conversation. And when he was like shutting me down, like, no, this is what we're doing, I was like, I don't feel that you have, I want to go with someone else. So I was glad we did that. But now I want to let Summer talk because I was super intrigued by the fact that she was like, I just avoided social media altogether. So I'm blown away by that in this day and age.
I avoided social media because, again, opinions are like, you know what, everybody has one. I didn't see the point. I'm still that person when people go on social media and say, can you recommend a house cleaner? Like, girl, just Google. Like, no. So for me, I did my own research through reputable medical journals and things online. So I did do a lot of research, but I didn't depend on people around the world who are going to share their own personal experiences or their, you just don't know who is going to give you information in there. So for me, that's why I avoided social media. And like Lori said, any questions I had, no matter how minute, no matter how silly, I took them to Dr. Leahy or Dr. Shields, and they answered them. I always joke and say Dr. Leahy only gave me her cell phone number, and she would correct me when I would go speak at Penn State, and she's like, Summer, I do that for everybody. I was like, yeah, but I'm the one who uses it. But if I had questions in the middle of the night, she would say, text me. And so that's what I did. If I had questions about Journey's care, if something seemed off, if I was worried about something, which happened often, I would shoot her a text and say, when you see this in the morning, let me know your thoughts, or what do you think about that? I needed that information from a person who I knew was knowledgeable, who knew my particular situation, and someone I trusted. And I just felt getting that from social media, no offense to anybody who chooses to use that, I despise them. I don't see the point. I join them now simply because I go in there, and if there's someone who really needs, and I may send them a direct message like, hey, you should reach out to this person and provide a resource, but otherwise I stay away from them. So that's me.
Yeah. Impressive. Okay, we are running really low on time, and I want to let people ask questions if they have that. One thing I wanted to share is having an adult survivor is that I didn't know this till Sina was a freshman in college, that she did not appreciate me sharing her story. So I did everything, I thought, oh, we're gonna tell your classmates, we're gonna talk about this, we're gonna talk about your eye, we're gonna tell them all the things that you need. And she was like, I just wanted to be a kid. I didn't wanna be the cancer kid, I didn't wanna be the one-eyed kid. And like I, for example, said when she went to school, oh, she needs to sit on one side because she doesn't have any vision on her right side. And she was like, I have been a one-eyed kid, Mom. I'm like Mike Wazowski since birth. Like, I only have one eye right here in the middle, and I want to sit front and center. I don't want to sit on the side because then I can't see. Like, I got to try. And like, there's things like that where I was like, my whole perception of reality was very skewed. So I encourage you to talk to your kids about their thoughts and feelings right now. And I wish, going back, that I would have shared more of just my story and left her, the specifics of hers out of it so that she didn't feel like at school everyone had to know and, people on the internet had to know. So, okay, I want to let each of you guys say something, and then let's do questions. Does that sound okay? We already talked about decision making. That's a big one, making that decision. Okay. I listed some of the common topics that pop up on RB Moms. So I don't know if any of you guys want to talk about any of that, but if you want to go first, Tim, just anything you want to talk about.
I'll sum up my time with this. This has a great impact on a marriage. The first time Hunt was diagnosed, I personally think I went into a cave. I remember driving home from CHLA to where I live, which is about an hour and a half. And I think I almost broke my teeth from shutting my mouth to not opening it up and screaming of sheer confusion. I think I did chip teeth. And I took that into my marriage. I took that into work. And as a matter of fact, I'm so ashamed to say this, I remember telling a team that I led that I did not miss a single day of work throughout Hunt's first 6 months of chemo and all those things, as if that was a trophy, when really that was just a cave. And I withdrew from my family a little bit to go to work, to launch a church, which we did back at, Hunt was starting his first chemo while we were launching a church, and we live 120 miles from that church, and we still do. And I say that, I don't know, that's just the journey that we took. The second time around, I chose a different path, and I chose to be fully transparent and be more present with my wife and my girls. I'm so grateful that I have an amazing, strong wife who just withstood it, and she is a rock. And something else I saw there with social media, and maybe your opinion is different than mine, I chose this last time around, this second wave, I chose to share Hunt's story on social media a little bit more. And I tried to be very tactful and very elegant and be careful what I say, because one day he'll be older and he may not like something, and I apologize to him in advance right now, but I'm hoping that it'll inspire people. And honestly, I had never heard the word retinoblastoma until I was sitting there with Dr. Kim back in 2018. That word never came into my mind. So I want to use this journey to advocate, to bring awareness to this disease, and I want to use Hunt's story to inspire and motivate people to become better, and to let you know that you can get through this. We can all get through this. He can get through this, and he can thrive. So that is where my heart is right now. So again, we're still fresh off of this. Chemo was 60 days ago for us. So this is all still very raw for us. So being here with all you again, if I don't get to say it again, I love you all. And I appreciate all that you do.
Want to go somewhere? Anything you want to say? You don't have to.
Anything we want to say? All right.
Or somebody else can go
A
if
couple
they're
of things.
ready.
The first thing is your child's needs are going to change over time, different age, different stages. So like right now, Journey is a vibrant, energetic, confident young woman. That may not be the same when she turns 14 and she likes a boy in school and he calls her one eye. All right? So I think just for any parents, and I'm sorry, how many parents are here? Just a quick show of hands. Thank you. I love
Give
it.
yourself
Awesome.
a round of applause.
Okay. Absolutely. So just as a parent, just understanding that their needs are going to change based on where they are in life, and you have to be flexible with those needs. So my confident little girl may not be that person in 3 more years, and I can't use that like, oh, well, what happened? Why? You were so I have to be flexible and willing to support her at every stage that she's in, and that means communicating with her as authentically as I possibly can. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And then the second thing is just understanding that your child will replicate anything you do or say. They're going to inherit the same way they inherit their beliefs from you, how they handle situations, how they see themselves is coming from you. And I know we speak about being honest with our kids, letting them see us cry and all of that. And I agree, you have to let your child see that vulnerability, but you also have to tie it up with a bow at the end. Because if you leave it with that emotional, oh my goodness, this is just the worst thing in the world type feeling, what are they going to walk away feeling? That this is the worst thing. And you may be able to correct that in your brain, like, okay, it's not that bad, I can do it. But they didn't hear that from you. So now they're internalizing that that's how they're going to feel, that's how they're going to perceive themselves. And if I don't leave you with anything else, please make sure you're using the right language with your child. Don't call their eye the bad eye. Don't call it that. Don't call them normal. Don't say, well, it's okay that you're not normal. And all. Just take it out of your vocabulary. They have to see themselves as confident young people. Yes, I may have to do some things different, but that doesn't mean that I'm not good. That doesn't mean that I am broken. And just that positive self-talk, I can't stress that enough. If I had more time, I would. But please remember that they see and feel everything that you do. So if you have those little feelings in you, they are going to take that, and it's going to impact them for many years to come. Think of the things that you learned from your parents that you still do today. There's a story about a family, and I'm going to pass it on. But the woman asked her mother, Mom, why do you cook with that big pot, that little pot? And her mom says, well, I don't know. That's what my mom did. So then her mom, she goes, says, ask your grandmother. She asks her grandmother, why did you cook with that little pot? She says, go ask your great-grandmother. Her grandmother said, because back then, our pots were so small, that's all we had. So again, they take these things that you show them and take them through life. So you got to break those generational curses, especially with a child who has retinoblastoma. So that is my speech. I am done talking. There we go.
So Izzy, I'm a worrier, and I'm very anxious and stressed about Izzy because she has her RB1 gene mutation, and I'm sure a lot of you guys also worry about the secondary cancers. I try not to think about it daily, but I do. And then one day when I was worrying about this, I just read some, random internet thing popped up and said, some things in life are glorious, some things suck. Try to accept life on its own terms and deal with the hand that you're dealt with, and just accept the situation. Izzy's journey has definitely taught me to live more present, savor each moment, even happy or sad, funny or mad.
So I would say my son and I are really lucky to have all the best professional support, medical support, and psychological support from all of you guys, and the opportunity I can sit here today and to share all these experiences. Back to China, we have like 1.6 billion people, and I think our RB population is the biggest in the world. We have like 1,000 children diagnosed each year. China is still working very hard to catch up with the United States and other countries. I'm thinking that I joined some of the RB like WeChat groups. We have WeChat in China, and I can really see the differences in China in terms of diagnosis and treatment level, especially between the first and second tier cities versus the more remote areas. Like I talked to one of the moms, and her daughter got one of her eyes removed, and he did not know anything about bilateral, unilateral, gene test, nothing about it, until 3 years later, and he asked him some question. My daughter had a ball pen, and what is it? So I tried to help her, and he just asked me, I have no money and no time, and 2 months later, her daughter passed away at the age of 10. So I'm really thinking about to leverage all the good experience and knowledge I can get from you guys here, can bring something back to China, to my country, and to also help the people there. But thank you again. It's my honor to be here. Thank you, guys.
Okay, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I'm really grateful to you guys. If anybody has questions, we have about 4 minutes, and I need 30 seconds at the end to let Summer say one little thing. So.
I don't have a question, just many comments, but I'll keep it short. My name is Kat, and I am a parent of a 4.5-year-old who rocks her purple sparkly prosthetic eye. And it would not be for the support of the community to get us to where we've been today. Thank you all for being who you are and for sharing your story. And I truly believe that we are dealt the cards that we are dealt because we can handle them.
That's right.
Because, that's the people that we are. And thank you for your resilience. And Lori, thank you especially, because when my friends told me that I should find a support group on Facebook, it took me months because many of them are terrifying. When you're going through that with your child, the last thing you want to see is the terror, which I am strong enough to face that now and want to support and advocate, but it took a long time to get there. And I just appreciate the RB Moms group and being able to read all of the stories and being able to share our story when before enucleation I thought it was going to be the end of our lives, and it's only empowered us and has provided a place and a space for us to be, and I feel like this is why I was put on this earth. So thank you.
Thank you. What's our time? Any more questions? Oh, yeah. I can.
One more comment. First, I just wanted to say I'm Megan Weber, and I'm with Know the Glow. You guys have heard of Know the Glow. But I just want to say, whenever I speak with parent families, I'm always so excited when I hear that they're with a doctor that I recognize and with one of the amazing ocular oncologists around the nation. We're so blessed and lucky to have so many resources here. And as a parent, I'm especially grateful because I know that what you go through, you need to have that trust to be able to take that weight off your shoulders and put it squarely on theirs so that you can just focus on being that mother and father that you need to be. And I'm always so amazed when I meet so many parents, and I know it's not true for all, although we all find that community, but to see just the extraordinary parents you are. It's like God knew what he was doing when he gave you these children. And these children, they will be the examples with the purple sparkly eyes, Kat, and with where's Genevieve with her pink eye? And like, there she is. And being able to see now the examples that are growing into this community. And it's because of We See Hope and groups that are willing to share their stories. And I understand and I'm totally sensitive to the children themselves. And when they learn to share their story their way, I know that they will. But I'm just so grateful to see all of us come together and to see the size of this crowd. And it's just such a gift for me to be here. I'm so grateful to all of you. And I just want to really applaud all of you for what you've done. So thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Thanks, everyone. This is fantastic. It's my first RB1 World Conference. My name is Paula Dillon. I'm here from Australia, as you can probably hear from my accent, Australia. And I am a retinoblastoma parent. I have a 20-year-old survivor in the room who sadly doesn't turn 21 until we go back to Australia on November 2nd. Sorry, you were born a little bit earlier, Grace. But yeah, I just wanted to say that just a reminder for everyone that this topic does bring up a lot of grief. And I work in grief work, and I know it's actually brought up some stuff for me, not only today so far, but also in the lead up to this. And retinoblastoma wasn't the worst thing that actually happened to our family. So for some of you, it is, and it was, and I know at the time it was, but subsequently we've had different life experiences. So yeah, we all know grief comes and it's always a big roller coaster, but I just wanted to remind everyone today to just acknowledge that grief and sit with that grief, because a lot of us in the room are empaths as well, and I know I'm taking other stories as well, and some of those stories, it's like I'm listening to my own words and feelings and experiences all over again that happened to me in April the 1st, 2004. So be mindful of that. Look after yourselves and have some self-care tonight. I think there's going to be a lot of us self-caring tonight. And what better place to self-care than on the beaches of Waikiki? I think there's no better place to have a conference. And also tomorrow in the days coming as well, when in the grief work that I do, I often talk about an emotional hangover. So just be mindful, everyone, over the coming days of the emotional hangover that you will have, because, yeah, your own stories and also the stories of others that you'll take with you. I'm having a great time. Thank you.
Okay. The last thing I want to say is, please, everyone, give yourself some self-care this next few days. And then I'm going to let Summer send us off. She said a very inspirational thing when we met the other day, so I just wanted to let her say that. And she kind of said it earlier, but I wanted her to send us off because it's very positive. So.
Yeah, okay. So the comment that I made was that your child isn't limited, they are limitless. But you have to believe that for them to receive it. And so I'm glad Lori made a note of that. And I truly wholeheartedly believe that, even in the midst of your own grief, because we go through, when I look at old pictures of Journey when she had her eye that she was born with, it makes me sad sometimes. It does. I look at it and I get emotional, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, or when I hear she's having a rough day at school, or, you know, things aren't going the way that I would like them to go. But I have to remember that she is going to be amazing, and she is going to be everything she wants to be. If you met her downstairs, someone came to me and said she had us calling her Dr. Journey. She says that she's going to be a doctor like Dr. Leahy. That's what she's always said. And so just know your child is limitless because you guys are amazing. And just you being here right now shows that we got this. And I hope to connect with some of you all later in the day. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you so much.